Hey everybody, this is Rahul from Custom Creatives and Real Estate Ads That Work, and I have a special guest here. His name is Clothier from Real Estate Worldwide, from Cribs, from many other businesses that you probably own and operate. Thank you so much for carving out some time for us in our community.
Of course, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I know. I watched your video on your website, and I don't normally watch like long videos, like 16, 17 minutes, but man, that was an amazing video. I got through it without a single pause. It was such a fascinating story that I really want to dive into this here.
Sure.
Before going into like too deep into your background, I want to start off with like, what do you do right now today?
Today, my primary focus is on two companies that we own: Real Estate Worldwide, which we started back in 2006, which is a software and training company for real estate investors. And then my primary focus today is all about Cribs. So we are actively, for the last year and a half, in building a company, building a platform, all designed to basically automate the entire buying and selling process, right? Doing it by buying a house, selling a house directly from your app, directly from your computer, without ever having to get into all the inefficiencies of that entire transaction, that bloated transaction. So we're really excited about what's going on over there as well. So that's why it's become a huge part of my focus.
Awesome. When is Cribs launch?
Cribs should launch here in the next 60 days. We have a tentative launch date set for the end of August. And it should, we are in the final stages of testing right now. So I say that very tentatively. God, fingers crossed. But we've done enough stress testing to the system that I'm pretty confident we'll be ready to go.
Right. So you've been best known for like wholesaling. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so you started wholesaling before you got into real estate. You were wholesaling in a whole different industry.
Correct. That is exactly right. I was wholesaling in the grocery industry for 13 years, and I've been doing this now. This is my 16th year in the real estate side. So 30 years wholesaling something.
Right. No, definitely. Because one thing that I liked about your video was when you were talking about flipping groceries and then now into flipping real estate. Before you were basically finding product and then finding the buyer. And then you kind of revolutionized that process where you would find the buyer first, create what they wanted, the market wanted, and then you go out and find the suppliers that you can go. So you already made the sale prior to even doing all the work. Is that correct?
You got it. You got it. And it's interesting to look back on it now because it seems pretty logical today to do that, right? I mean, it seems like it's kind of one of those, well, no joke, right? But at the time, nobody would ever even thought to do that. And shockingly, even though we've been so successful at it and taught so many people to do it that way, the reality of it is the norm still today is to go the other direction. Go find a property, get it under contract, take on an enormous amount of risk, and then hope that you've got somebody that'll buy it from you. And we just don't subscribe to that. And again, if you actually just logically think about it, if you effectively have an order in hand in any business, if you clearly know what the customer wants, and you want to be really successful, the best advice is figure out exactly what your customers want and then go get it and give it to them. I mean,
Right. Exactly.
revolutionary.
In a brief, because this is going to go out to a bunch of entrepreneurs and a bunch of real estate agents, can you describe what wholesaling is in real estate?
Sure. So most people, when you hear real estate, naturally we all think about our primary residence, and most of us, our experience with real estate is either buying or selling that residence, right? So there was a real estate agent involved, there were commissions, all that kind of good stuff, and so that whole retail side of the business is not what we're talking about. Wholesaling is the act of going out and getting a property under contract at a significant discount. And there's a lot of people that may think, well, why would somebody sell you their house at 60 or 70 cents on the dollar? And the reality of it is it happens tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of times every single day because people have a variety of crises in their life, right? It might be loss of job, it might be loss of income, it might be health, it could be divorce. I mean, anything, right? Anything's coming into their life and they're distressed and they want to get rid of that asset as fast as they can. Well, what wholesalers do is we market to people and kind of advertise that we are here to pay all cash for your house. Now, the moment you have that property under contract, the actual contract itself becomes the asset. So in other words, I haven't actually bought anything yet. I just have a contract that says I'm entitled to buy it for 70 cents on the dollar. And there are millions of people that will step into and effectively take your place in that contract for a fee. And that's wholesaling. So I go and put a house, $100,000 house under contract for 70 grand. I have a contract that says, here's my $70,000 contract. Somebody will quickly step in and say, I will take that contract over, assume all your responsibilities, and give you a fee of $10,000 to do that. So when you really boil it down, I just effectively bought and sold a contract for a house without any money and made 10 grand. That's why wholesaling is so attractive.
Right. So you build your network of investors or the audience that has the cash flow, and then you kind of are the broker dealer, if you will, that has access to all the inventory, if you will.
Yeah, you're just somebody that's really good at getting deals under contract, which is a huge component of it. You're not really representing a buyer and you're not representing a seller. You're somebody that is a principal in the contract. You're going out there and putting it under contract with the intention of closing on it if you need be.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is that the asset is no longer the house. The asset is the right to buy the house. And so
Right.
all kinds of people want to step in and take over that, because that's the biggest struggle right now, right? There's plenty of people that have the money and they have the knowledge, but they're either not marketing or they don't have the time to market. And so by virtue of somebody stepping in and doing that, they're more than willing to pay.
Oh, definitely. What are some of the like pitfalls or mistakes that you kind of identify early on for people that are just stepping into wholesaling?
Never thought earlier what kind of me, I guess, famous in this arena, right? So I hate using that word, but an authority in this arena is probably a better way of saying it. Is that as what you alluded to, I had been wildly successful in a previous life in grocery, an arbitrage business, a wholesaling business. And in that particular business, I was a kid. I was 26 years old when I finally got to the top and was doing $800 million a year, and decided to kind of flip the model around and start with the end in mind, start with our customers and find out everything they want to buy and go and effectively just go get that. And so while all my competitors were out there fighting over the same products that were being offered up, we were going the other direction. Hey, this is what I need. And that's how we went from 800 million to 1.8 billion in a really short period of time. And so I took that knowledge and I brought it into real estate, and that's really how we went from doing a few deals to doing, now our company does almost 1,000 deals a year. And that's the biggest mistake I would argue that people make, is that they start believing that it is all about the deal. And it is really not about the deal. It's all about what the buyer wants to buy from you. And if you know that just makes you a better deal architect. It makes you a better marketer. I mean, it starts with, and so it just makes the whole process so much easier. There's no wasted time and effort and confusion and money, and you just know what to go get. And so, if you think about it, it's no different than even on Amazon. If you clearly knew that everybody on Amazon wanted to buy a million units of a particular product, well, your life gets pretty easy. Go get the million units. This is the exact same thing.
Right. So you brushed over really casually that you were doing $800 million and then 1.8 billion. What made you leave that industry?
Because I was completely full of crap. That's what happened. I basically, and interestingly enough, we are all a product of our own experience, right? And so I started a business when I was 17 years old with my father, who introduced me to the grocery industry. My father, my entire life, owned grocery stores and convenience stores and all that. So I kind of grew up in that business. And then we started this arbitrage business when I was 17. And we had just noticed that when we were being offered product from our suppliers, different suppliers would offer the same exact product at wildly different prices. A truckload or a case of Folgers coffee over here, they wanted us to buy it for $55, and over here they would sell it to us for $37. And which doesn't sound like a lot, but when there's 4,000 cases on a truck, now you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And so we figured out that we could go buy it in one place and then go sell it in another place and just play on that little spread right there over and over and over. And So by the time I was 23, we were doing $50 million. As I mentioned, by the time I was 27, it was 800 million. By the time I was 30, it was 1.8 billion, seventh largest privately held company in the state of Florida. And all of that, none of that matters today, but what I share it with you because through that experience, I was completely full of crap. I had never failed. From 17 to 30, I had never failed. I believed that the success I was having and that we were having was all due to me. All you had to do was ask me. I was more than willing to tell you, right? I was that guy, making millions and millions of dollars, living the big life, having a great time. I had 600 employees. I mean, I was the guy that got to the office at 5 a.m. and I left at 8 p.m. I just believe I took so much pride in everything I was doing there that when I got into a run-in with my partners on March 14th of 2000, I was asking for more equity in the company, and the two guys that owned, the vast majority of the equity were just like, no, we don't think so. And it was just enough in that moment to set me off. And so quite literally, I quit in the span of 30 seconds without ever even thinking twice about it, and walked out the door and believed I was going to be in business the next day and be just as successful, and everybody would be coming down to me on bended knee, asking me to help them. I just had this whole delusional thing that I've been programmed to believe that I was so good I could accomplish anything. And I was very fortunate to figure out over the course of the next 2 years just how wrong I was, because I lost everything, right? And it was devastating, but I look back and I'm very humble. I'm very, very grateful that happened to me.
Definitely. No, I've had a similar path where I had early success, and sometimes that puts you on a mountaintop where, like you just, to echo what you just said, it could actually hurt you into the next like transitional moment. But then essentially when you recover, which is the big key, is how much time is it going to take? That's when you can kind of transition your life and kind of be free, and you kind of lose those like thought process that you're invincible.
Well, it's a blessing and a curse, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's amazing. The beauty of it is because I remind people this all the time, is that it's shocking to me how successful, I tell people all the time, I'd much rather have ignorance on fire than knowledge on ice, right? And there's so many overeducated, broke people that won't take action. And then you have just this an ocean of dipshits out there that are just so successful. And the reason they're so successful is because they are so naive and don't know any different. And so that is an asset, right? That is an asset to just be invincible. But if you're invincible and you're wildly successful and nobody's getting you in check, then yeah, at some point that can get a little out of hand.
Right. So
hey, hold on one moment for me. 1 second.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm here and somebody was at the door.
No problem. So let's go into the transition to the real estate life. So what year was it that you started to get into the real estate wholesaling world?
December of 2002, I went to my very first real estate seminar. So I'm a product of everything you see on TV, by the way, right? So you'll never hear me talking about how those free trainings, come on down, we're going to give you lunch, we're going to give you dinner, we're going to show you how to invest in real estate. I mean, I went through it. So there's literally no way I could ever talk crap about it. The big difference is that I was completely broke, and my back was against the wall. I had burned every bridge on the way down, had no money left, was in a very, very fragile state, right? So I needed a win because I had a couple of years of losses and lost millions and millions of dollars. And so the simple fact, by virtue of being in that headspace, it meant that when I went to that event, I had to actually apply the knowledge that I was taking from that event, right? And that's a huge thing, is that there's a lot of people that go to those things, and whatever it is, today you see them for Amazon and everything else. If you go to it and you always, you still have the ability to have 1 foot in and 1 foot out, I don't see a lot of people taking action out of that. But if you're at that place where you have to make it work, you'll figure out how to make it work. And that's exactly what happened to me. I mean, I took it out of there, and 22 days after there, I had done my very first wholesale deal. I mean, they were talking about it on the board. I never even knew what wholesaling was. I had no idea that, what I just explained to you was even possible. But it didn't take me very long to figure out that it was a variation of what I've been doing for a long, long time. And so my first 18 months, I did 91 deals, made over $1 million. And I was back on my own 2 feet, started believing in myself a lot. And kind of building myself back up. But it was again, when I was at a place where every relationship I had prior to that in the grocery industry, I burned all those relationships. So, I tell people all the time, some of the best advice that I've ever gotten and that I give is burn the boats, right? When you have no alternative but to move forward, you'll be shocked at what you can actually do. But while you can always kind of reach back and grab at oh, I still can go and I just want to keep working that corporate job, or I've got this thing over here with these relationships, and I can kind of that kind of mentality is just, I'm the kind of person that doesn't work. I got to be all in on something.
Right. So when you did these 91 deals in your first 18 months, you made $1 million in commission checks. Were you running this and operating this as on your own? Was this just you as a
Oh
solo?
yeah, yeah. I was a hustler, man, and I wasn't even really applying my whole reverse wholesaling methodology yet, right? I was basically doing what I had just been taught to do by the seminar, and was running up and down the streets, knocking on a lot of doors, making a lot of cold calls, faxing a lot of offers back then. And it was pure 100% grind, doing what it took to get back on top. And like I said, it was an amazing experience, and continues to be something I lean on all the time, because you've got to go through that to get to the next level, right? And it's really hard if you don't go through the grind. It's really hard to talk about how you're going to build a business. The key, though, is that it wasn't. I was probably 2.5 years in, and my new baby daughter was coming, right? And I quickly realized that if I don't get off the hamster wheel, that I wasn't going to be around, right? I mean, I was gonna make the exact same mistake I'd made with my son years earlier. And so that's what really got me into turning it into a business, is, kind of starting getting people and processes and automation and using data and marketing, all the things that we all kind of take for granted now. There's so many things so many systems out there around us every single day that generally make all the business easier. Well, none of that was going on when I was coming up through the ranks, right? It was, we had to kind of create that from the ground up.
Right. Who was your very first hire, or what position?
My assistant, and assistant, office manager, whatever you want to. I needed somebody to take the mundane task off of me, and she was basically a utility player. She was everything.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't somebody I hired for $30,000. This is down in Boca Raton, Florida. I was paying her $75,000 a year right out of the gate. She was way overqualified, but effectively, when I say my right-hand person, she was that. She was somebody that was taking care of everything that I couldn't, or shouldn't, I should say, be taken care of,
Mm-hmm.
which allowed me to get where I wasn't working in the business, and I could start working on it.
So fast forwarding to today, how many flips have you done in total?
Our investment company now has done over 5,500. We've done, and that is what we would call our turnkey, because the evolution of the business is now something a little different. And so now we do what are called turnkey transactions, which means we now actually buy it, and we actually rehab the property, rehabilitate the property, fix it all up. Then we turn around and put a 2-year renter in the place, and we go and flip that property as a performing assets to entrepreneurs that want to be in real estate, but they have full-time businesses and they don't want to actually have to go through all it. So we basically do all that for them, and then we manage that property for them. And so we've done 5,500 of those transactions, and we've done roughly another 4,000 wholesale transactions as well. So we're about to be collectively at about 10,000 transactions where we have walked through one of those two business models that I just walked you through.
Wow, that's just amazing to have that amount of success and clarity. I mean, you must have the great systems, people, product, and process in place.
I'll just say something. I'm not going to tell you that they're that great. What I will tell you is that they are simple.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, a saying in our offices, in all of our offices, that there's a lot of elegance in keeping it simple, right? And we don't want it to be complex. I want to be able to teach it to anybody. And that's equally why we got into the education and software space, is because there's a lot of money to be made by making things seem really complicated. But if we can make it really simple for people, and ourselves included, we just find that to be the way we do it. So I don't know how great they are, but I will tell you they're very straightforward. They're very simple. They're very easy to follow. And that what makes that work is that's how you create volume. And I tell people all the time, I got no problem being the McDonald's of real estate. None, right? I mean, I know exactly. I know the burger we're putting out every single day. Go, 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 go. And it's not just me. It's my family, my father, my brothers. Everybody. We all kind of the same thing. Let's be the best at what we do, but let's keep it very straightforward and don't overcomplicate this.
Right. So, like, speaking of your leadership, so you're able to run a big team right now. Like, how do you manage that team? How do you create that like leadership, that culture, to keep everybody accountable?
Well, we have daily huddles in all of our businesses. We probably over communicate. So from a tool standpoint, we use, depending on the organization, we use several different project management type softwares. We certainly over communicate from Slack. We have daily huddles across the board. We have KPIs and dashboards that everybody is responsible for. And I mention all of that, and I'm not trying to gloss over it, but I mention all that because when you have a few of those tools in place, what that allows you to do is everybody speaking the same language constantly. And that's a huge thing. Everybody knows what they're going to be held accountable for always. Equally, and just as important as all of that is understanding what the core values of the company are, right? I mean, everybody in our organization clearly knows what we stand for. They clearly know what we stand against. They clearly understand what we're trying to get done every day and how they relate to that bigger vision and mission of the company. I think it's really, really clear, really critical to run a very transparent organization, at least for me personally. I believe the companies that I run are a reflection of me and my personality and who I am. And so I want to make sure that I'm really communicating that very, very well. We take a lot of pride in the people we hire and the people we train. And being very candid, we try to run people out of here before they ever even get started. I want to be polarizing. I want to tell them it's going to be hard. I want to let them know what they're up against. I want to let them know what's going to be expected. We are very, very upfront, meaning like, if you don't align with who we are and how hard we're going to go and where we're trying to get to, then we're not just going to put a butt in the seat. And I think a lot is lost on people when it comes to that. Meaning that people just try to hire for the position, hire for the task, hire for the skill, and not necessarily hire for the culture. And if you hire for the culture, it's amazing. The cream will rise to the top very quickly. You'll be shocked at how many people will elevate your company very quickly if they believe in what you're trying to get done.
Definitely. No, I love that because that's one of the hardest parts of being an entrepreneur is having that leadership, that skill set. I mean, you broke it down when you said like it's elegantly simple. Communicating can be very simple because like all you have to do is say what's in your head as an entrepreneur. But a lot of entrepreneurs don't say that.
Well, and the reason they don't say it is because they're too busy trying to be politically correct, and they haven't set that tone from the very beginning. Meaning, like, we need to be. Again, a big word that we use is very authentic, very transparent. I want to be. We create a culture where it is okay to express your ideas. It's okay to align yourself with us, and we know from the very beginning that if you're not here to wake people up, if you're not here to get people excited, if you're not here to create value for people, if you're not here to really help change their lives, then you don't belong here.
Definitely.
And that kind of transparency makes it okay to be exactly who you are, to your point, say what you need to say.
I want to ask one of the questions you asked Billy. What's the one thing that can take your business down in the next year?
Well, I think every business, whether you realize it or not, and the reason I asked him that question is because when you're a young guy or girl and you're really successful, you begin to believe your own BS, right? And I did that, and I never thought that I was at risk at all. But I have seen many businesses now taken down by one attorney general investigation or one FTC investigation or one regulatory thing change, or just getting caught not paying attention, being asleep at the wheel, and not believing that any of that could ever happen to you. And so the reason I asked that is to remind people to just don't ever get trapped. Don't ever think like that, right? Try to build a business that is wildly insulated from things like that. So you want to always, again, create value, be very transparent, disclose everything that's going on in your business, over communicate with the customer, always refund the customer if there's a problem. Just do all those things that will create that again, the ultimate transaction. Now, equally, create businesses that are as agnostic to market movement as humanly possible. And again, just looking at wholesaling is a great example of that. Wholesalers don't care whether we're in a buyer's market, seller's market, whether the real estate market's hot or whether it's cold. Nobody cares. Why? Because there's always somebody buying and selling. Always. Stock traders do not make, they don't get rich because a stock's moving up or moving down. They get rich because somebody's trading the stock, buying it and selling it, right? And so there's always somebody buying and selling. And so that's the kind of businesses that we like to be in. I don't want a market condition to have any bearing on what's going to happen to any of my businesses. There's always going to be, now, there's, again, if you're in the marketing business, people kind of pull back on marketing from time to time. People pull back on software and training from time to time. But if you can get in businesses where you're creating monthly recurring, you're creating long-term clients, you're creating real value, you're trying to remain agnostic of what's really going on in the markets, that kind of stuff is where you want to be. Insulate as much as you can.
Yeah, no, I follow Tony Robbins a lot and go to some of his conferences. I'm going to UPW in Miami coming up this year. And one of the things that hit home, after all these years of running a business, he's like the first business coach or productivity coach or whatever you want to call him, personal development coach that I've been to. And the term "winter is coming" was so important. Is just prepare. When people aren't advertising, you advertise because you just can seek opportunity and take market share.
It is always coming, right? And just always keep that in your head, that it is never a matter of if the market is going to change or if your business is reasonably at risk. It is a matter of when those things are going to happen, right? It's coming one way or the other.
So you've seen all this success twice over now. So what keeps you, like today's a Thursday, what keeps you motivated to keep going and grinding and building your empire every single day?
Well, I mean, for me personally, I'm a massive believer in time, right? Everything about me is time. I walk around, the motto in all my office, all the signage in my office is "the time is now." Stay focused, wake people up. I mean, I'm all about time. I wear it on my wrist every day. I mean, for God's sakes, the tattoo on my arm is a watch face with no hands on it, signaling that it's always right. It's always now. So this is kind of the theme of my life, is that I am, God forbid I ever live a day where I'm not trying to be the best version of myself. I mean, I believe it wholeheartedly. Everything about me is this. And so as an extension of that, I mean, what's the alternative, right? I mean, I love what I do. This does not work for me. And I'm extremely passionate about it. And I love the fact that, I was asked this question a couple of days ago, very similar version of the same question. And, why do I do this every day? What kind of keeps me going? And it's really simple. This is something that it may sound a little morbid, but I literally think about this every single day. I'm at an age now, so I'm 49 years old. So I've had a couple friends pass away in the last couple of years. And in one instance, I got on an airplane and I flew to her funeral, and I was there and it mattered to me, and I wanted her family to know how much she meant to me. And in another case, I was making all the excuses in my head why I couldn't figure out how to get there. And that really hit me really hard. And what I mean by that is if something was to happen to me today, who's going to get on the plane? Who's going to come? Who's going to come and shake my little girl's hands and say, your dad actually mattered? And that has always been enough for me now to just make me keep moving. And if any of the days are going by when I'm not pushing hard enough to get somebody on an airplane to come say, your dad actually mattered, then that's a clear indication I need to change what I'm doing. And so that's what I do. I think about it all the time. Like, I just want to make sure that if I have the ability to change somebody's life and create impact and help and add value, I just want to keep doing that. It's just who I am.
I love it. Yeah, no, your videos are amazing too. So if whoever watches this, follow Kent on Instagram, on Facebook, YouTube. His videos are fantastic.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, speaking of videos, how often do you do videos and how has it impacted your business?
I started doing videos back in 2008, believe it or not. And of course, social media now with Instagram and Facebook has made that, much more prevalent. So now we're doing a live or some version of a video from my cell phone pretty much if not every day, certainly every other day. We're sitting down with my videographers in a formal setting, creating real content at a minimum once a month. And a lot of times it could be a couple times a month. The key to that today is I don't think that people get stressed out when they hear that, right? They're like, oh my God, how do you come up with the content? How do you know it? And I just don't think that's necessarily the right approach. I mean, bottom line is we all walk around with a video camera in our pocket today. And there's the general public has a voracious appetite right now for content. And most of us have wisdom that is worth sharing. So the point being is don't stress about it. Just start talking, right? And somebody is going to find value. And back to what I just said, if it changes one person's life, if it wakes one person up, if one person decides to take the step forward and get in business, or one person decides that, oh my God, you know what? I was having really bad thoughts, but I'm not now because this person inspired me. Then who cares? It was one person. You made a difference. That's what this is about. Stop overcomplicating it. Well, I just don't like the way I look on camera. You know what? Let me help you understand. That's the way you look. Don't worry about it, right? Just go. Right. Just do it. And I think that not thinking about the content part of it and just thinking about the bringing value, I think that's a huge component. So yes, we do try to think about content and we do try to put studio time in, but more than that, we just walk around and do what we do.
Yeah, because I follow Billy a lot. He does a lot of videos too. And I mean, some of the things that he talks about to make people comfortable with videos, that the raw, authentic videos just on the little iPhone itself are his highest performing videos, just because you're raw, authentic, it's uncut. You don't have to worry about makeup, lighting, and 3 cameras on you and which one to look at and get all nervous.
Yeah. I mean, there's a time and a place for everything, for sure. Yeah. I mean, with all of our crib stuff, we're certainly going to the next level with a lot of video production. But at the end of the day, especially when it relates to social media, so it's YouTube, it's Facebook, it's Snapchat, or it's Instagram, the whole entire point is to be social. So just turn the camera on and share something. I don't care if you share what your daily routine is, or what your gym workout is, or what you're eating for food, or some story on how you dealt with an employee issue, or whatever, and is going on in your business. There is real value that is being distributed when you do that.
100%. Can we talk about cribs for a second?
Sure, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Tell me about it. Give it to me. Give me the rundown.
So the single biggest challenge in real estate today is that you have an archaic way of doing deals. And what I mean by that is that most people, they still go and list their house with a realtor. And it takes on average 78 days to sell their house. They have to discount it from the original list price on average up to 7%. So they go sell their house and they now have 6% in commissions and a 7% discount. So from the very beginning, they took 13% right out of the deal. Now they're going to go pay another 2% in title insurance and all this other stuff. So 15% in a bloated transaction that takes, almost 90 days, 78 days, which means that's 3 more mortgage payments, that's 3 more insurance payments, that's 3 more taxes. All of that is just so ripe for disruption. There's just so much that if you're going to have that kind of cost structure in place, then it should be a wildly efficient transaction. So to add insult to injury, not only is it very costly, but it is also terribly inefficient. And so Cribs was designed to solve that one problem. We are at a place now where it is becoming more and more normal for all of us to transact on our phones, on our tablets, on our laptops. We're becoming more and more comfortable with engaging with a stranger to do that transaction. And, take Uber or Airbnb. Those are classic examples of it, right? I mean, any of us had even thought 5 years ago that we would pull out our phone and somehow summon a stranger to come to our home and get in their back seat so they could go drive us somewhere. I mean, we would all have thought that that's the craziest idea we've ever heard, but it literally happens millions of times every day. And so the same thing with renting a stranger's bedroom, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it even sounds creepy when you just say it, but it just happens every day. And so because of that, because of the pressure that's been put down and the normalcy that's been brought to that, we believe that real estate is ripe for that disruption. We believe that we can bring technology and efficiency to the entire transaction process. And even better than that, we can rip all the cost out of there. So I'll give you an example. When you go right now and you're a home seller, as I just said, it's going to cost you as the seller, roughly 15%. So if you go sell your $200,000 house, you are going to walk away from the closing table somewhere in the neighborhood of 170 grand. So we just believe that if you go and sell your house from $200,000, that you should walk away with something close to $200,000. And so less the title insurance and the closing costs, all of the commissions, all the discounts, all that stuff, they're all gone. We are connecting you with real buyers sitting over here on one side of the equation who we have vetted, who are paying a fee to be a part of Cribs, who want access to this inventory. They want access to everybody. And we are actively marketing to the sellers on the other side and bringing them together in the transaction all online. And quite honestly, you can sell your house in as little as 48 hours. And you put it on there. We send a rep out to the house to do a consultation to make sure you clearly understand what's getting ready to happen. They take some pictures. They go load it on the platform. 24 hours later, you have an all-cash offer from multiple bidders. You get to choose which one you want, and you can choose not to take any of them. So there's no obligation. If you choose one, then the entire transaction will close in the next 7 to 14 days. You pick the days that you want it to close. And like I said, they're going to pay all cash and they're going to take care of everything, and you're going to be out of the deal and move on. And as painless as it could possibly be. You don't have a bunch of people walking through your home. You don't have a bunch of house showings and open houses and any of that none of that takes place. And we're doing all the heavy lifting of getting all the buyers who actively want to buy your property in one place for you. And they're bidding against each other, which is naturally driving up the price. They all are competing. And then, like I said, you get to decide. If the price meets your needs, take it. The whole deal will close quickly. And it all happened from your app. If you decide you don't want any of it, well, at least you now know. Rather than a broker or a realtor telling you what they think it's going to sell, you clearly had 10 offers. Mm-hmm. Somewhere from $190,000 to $210,000, whatever it was, right? As an example. And so to go out there and believe your house is worth $250,000 or $300,000 and everybody's telling you it's worth $190,000 to $210,000, you'll separate fact from fiction real quick. And again, if you accept any of the offers you get, you pay nothing. Cribs takes no money from the sell side at all. All Cribs revenue comes from the buyer side. So
right. Okay.
So we on the platform, and we charge the buyers a transaction fee. If their contract is chosen, then they have to pay Cribs a fee for that. That's it.
That's cool. I like that. That's amazing that you can, a 48-hour transaction would be amazing for most people to get out that quickly. Because I've gone through the buying process. I haven't gone through the selling process yet, but it definitely is a lot of back and forth, a lot of talk to one realtor, they talk to the other realtor. You're kind of like in this, you're on two different sides. There's no transparency. You don't know what's going on in the middle.
You'll see it all here, right? So in Cribs, the platform completely works today. It operates on iOS, it operates on Android. We're launching in Phoenix first, and then we'll be opening up in several new markets before the end of the year. And we're really, really excited. We think it's going to be revolutionary.
Awesome. So anybody watching, where do they go to be a part of Cribs?
They can just go to cribs.com, which is KRIBBZ.com.
Cool. Cribs.com, KRIBBZ.com. We'll put it up on the screen when we get to the editing here too. Well, Ken, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. Hope we can do this again sometime too.
All you have to do is ask, my friend. I'll be there for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ken. Have a great day.
Take care.